take the oath of office. Planning his broad objectives, he comes to the subject nearest his heart, peace.
So help me God.
After shaking hands with Justice Vinson and former President Truman, he breaks precedent to share his great day with Mamie. And he strides President and President-elect riding together. Will the massive forces of Communist Stalin's shoulder on public occasions? But melancholists emerge to carry on the evil crusade for world domination, that fires both conventional high explosives and atomic artillery shells. With this announcement comes the first films of Amazon Annie actually firing an atomic shell. And there it is, the familiar sinister contours of the atomic cloud. A dramatic punctuation mark for these historic Defense Department films of the most lethal blast ever unleashed by any artillery weapon in history. Production quotas boomeranged into full-blown rebellion. Red propaganda backfired. Rioters burned and smashed their way through the city, behind the Iron Curtain. Russian tanks rode roughshod over East Berlin, and Russian boasts about Germany. Some 2,000 tons of dried milk, and German knows from whence the food came. Flour, meat, beans, and peas. The distribution is done by West Germany at America. Dawn, see the defiant Yugoslav signs across. Italians informed that American and British troops are being withheld will never give up the city. Meanwhile, jubilant Italians see the raising of their flag for the disputed zone. Reinforced security police. Incidents such as these keep the Yugoslav capital in a turmoil, while diplomats mull over a problem that may find its way to the ring. Searing winds continue to blow under a blazing sun. Southeast Colorado is particularly hard hit as tinder dry suns continue to blow under a blazing sun. Southeast Colorado is a scene of desolation. Oklahoma, and Texas have been declared disaster water. So serious has the situation become that President Eisenhower has asked for $8 million for the relief of the stricken. In Amarillo, President Eisenhower with his Agriculture Secretary Ezra Benson discussed the specter of a new dust bowl rises in the west and southwest as 13-foot tidal waves smashed at the Greek Aegean island. The dikes, for centuries Holland's bulwarks against the sea, crumbled, termed the worst natural disaster in 1,600 years of its history. From 6 nations is rushed to stricken Holland, and the Army and Navy are mobilized for rescue work.
De enorme kracht van de storm heeft ook vele schepen in moeilijkheden gebracht, zoals in Braskem.
Land and Turkey in the dread aftermath of a pre-dawn volcanic eruption. An earthquake that registered on seismographs with the force of 10 atom bombs. Temblors and tidal waves took a grim toll along the island chain, flattening nearly half the houses, injuring hundreds of the 10,000 population, taking an estimated 60 lives. Similar volcanic disasters have struck here before, graphic records of human anguish under elemental onslaught. The latest quake is believed the worst. 9 servicemen died as the huge transport crashed shortly after takeoff from Tachikawa airfield in Japan. It was only hours later that the charred mass cooled sufficiently to permit removal of the bodies. Funeral pyre for the men trapped in the twisted wreckage. Out begins with workers clearing the rubble brick by brick, whole spectacle of devastation, described by one military. And as these pictures were taken, the death toll in Waco stood at an arduous time of rebuilding in the path of the tornado. The conditions that spawned the Midwest tornadoes were repeated in New England.
Cheers go out, too, for the handsome man in his Admiral's Big Ben atop Parliament looks down on the royal procession.
Inside the ancient edifice, before peers of the realm and 7,500 selected guests, Queen's head and removes his hands, the assemblage in one voice says, God save the Queen. as part 2 of the ritual begins. So the Queen returns to the west door of the 900-year-old Abbey Church.
Spectacle witnessed by millions undaunted. Queen Elizabeth, symbol of hope for the dawn of a new Elizabeth ages of history. Cheers go out too for the handsome man in his admiral's uniform who shares in that.
And hope, wondering whether this first step on the road to peace would in fact lead to an armistice. And good news came whether this first step on the road to peace would in fact freedom. With the communists' unexpected announcement that they would return more than the 600 P.W.'s original. Today, too few can rejoice. Many thousands remain unaccounted for by the Reds. The world can only hope that all the other prisoners held by the communists will be freed from living death to walk through the gates of first films of the ceremonies at Panmunjom that end 3 years of bitter, costly conflict. A UN honor guard is on hand at the newly built Peace Pagoda. Ever present knows that the big problems remain. Must sign his name 9 times, and each group has fire is good news to the men at the front, but it is almost the bulky agreement spells out in minutest detail. The 2,100 GIs on the Navy transport. Joseph Swing greets the first arrivals on the dock. 100 of the men are greeted by members of their families, and the scene on the dockside is charged with emotion as love. Words are inadequate, and the stranger feels like an interloper. There was no privacy in battle. There is none now. New York Harbor. On board are 2,200 veterans of the Korean War.